Hello, it's Amy, and to everyone in, well, I guess the Northern Hemisphere, happy first day of spring. It's a chilly start to spring here in Ottawa, as is common. We are 4 degrees Celsius, which is actually quite nice. The sky is gray, but I was able to walk around the corner to the mailbox without having to put the hood up on my coat and without having to wear gloves, which is a late March accomplishment. And I can't wait till spring. I am so tired of this winter. But my day was brightened by the delivery of some books. And these are 2 volumes of the Letters of Madame de Sevigne. And they're wrapped in cellophane, so we've got some reflection. But it's fun because we do have the original dust jackets on these 2 volumes. There's the red underneath. You'll recognize it from the other volume that I got a couple of weeks ago. And maybe I'll just remove the dust jacket for now so we don't get the glare. But we do have a nice book plate in here from Bessie D. Douglas. That looks like the name in cursive there. This interesting book plate with a heart wearing a crown and some stars. And once again, this is from a set from 1927, edited by A. Edward Newton. Still waiting on volume 1 so I can actually get the Newton introduction. That's on its way in the mail. There's a frontispiece there. But I am 2 volumes closer to having the full 7-volume set. Title page. And these are quite nice. These are in really, really good condition. I didn't see them anywhere else with the dust jackets still completely intact. And like this dust jacket is, I don't know where someone was storing these books for the past almost 100 years, but there's not a tear on them, and all we've got is a little bit of, as you expect, a little bit of damage at the top and the bottom of where the spine would rest. But yeah, so we've got, this one is, just making sure so this is volume 4. So we have volume 4. And this one here is volume 5. And I ordered this from a bookshop in Australia called Sappho Books. It's in Sydney, a secondhand bookshop, and they sent me this delightful bookmark with my order. And a handwritten note thanking me for my order. I always appreciate special touches like that. But I was actually incredibly surprised at how fast it got here. I ordered, well, it couldn't have been more than 2 weeks ago. And I got notifications from Australia Post the whole way through. I knew when it was airborne, and next thing I know, Canada Post delivered the books today. But I'll take the dust jacket off of this one too so we can take a closer look. This one does have a little bit of, I don't know what that is. Something's yellowed there. Perhaps it's glue or water damage. But there's some dust. But otherwise, it's in excellent condition. And we have the same book plate as in the other book. So as I said, volumes 4 and 5. We have Pauline de Crignan, Marquise de Semen, as the frontispiece of this volume. And I suppose once I read, I'll learn exactly who this lady is. But that's the little haul for today, adding 2 more volumes from the 1927 I guess it's the Carnavalet edition, the 1927 A. Edward Newton edited edition of the Letters of Madame de Sevigne. And I'm sort of torn because all my other volumes are going to just be the red. And these are going to be the outliers with the dust jackets. And so I guess I have to decide when I put them on my shelf whether I'm going to display these two with the dust jackets or whether I take the dust jackets off and just display the whole set with the red boards exposed. I'm thinking I might keep the dust jackets on these two just because it will protect the books a lot better. In fact, I'm surprised that none of the 3 books I've received so far is significantly faded because red is something that tends to turn to brown very quickly, especially on an early 20th century cloth-bound book. But that's my excitement of the day. 2 new volumes for my shelf. And I've been doing some reorganizing here. You'll notice there's suddenly a gap in the wall here and I got a vacuum in the corner. That's because I moved the skinny bookshelf that was there over to the other side of the room to fill a gap that was temporarily left when I moved one of my great big bookcases, the 3rd one of this size. I moved the great big bookcase into the bedroom because there was some space in there and I was starting to, I guess, amass a sufficient number of older books that I felt especially strongly about wanting to protect from the sunlight. And in the bedroom, the curtains are kept drawn all day. I rarely open the curtains in the bedroom actually, and so that's where the books that I definitely want to protect from sunlight are stored. And so we've got that in there, but as I said, there's a temporary gap here, but there is kind of overflow happening in some areas. Despite purging a bunch of my collection the end of 2022, I am finding myself in need of some more shelf space. And so I've ordered 2 more of these large versions of the shelves, and one's going to end up going in that space. And then I'll decide whether to keep the skinny shelf or pass it on for my collection. And then the second shelf, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it yet, but I'm thinking I might shift all the furniture and have 3 of the large ones in a row behind me. Or I could end up squeezing it into the bedroom. We'll see how things start to take shape when the shelves arrive. But the shelves should be arriving by tomorrow's mail, and then I'll assemble them, and it may be an opportunity to take every last book from the shelf, reorganize things, see what fits together, and determine anew which ones should be most protected in the bedroom and which ones can just sit out here in the main room of the apartment. Now I've got the Peeps out here, and the Peeps has those dust jackets, so I'm pretty confident about just leaving these out there. It's no big loss to me if those ratty old dust jackets get further faded. But there's some other things where I've thought, do I really want the blue cloth bound Somerset Maugham out here in the direct sunlight? And when it does get really sunny, I do close the curtains a bit, but because it is the main room of the apartment, it really does have to be bathed in the sunlight. And I tend to keep the newer books that I care a little bit less about out here. Although there still are a few where I'm like, I kind of wish I could move those somewhere else, a little bit farther from the windows. But then I have other considerations. I used to have all these shelves on the opposite wall of the apartment. And then I realized, with the temperature fluctuations, in the summer, it's really humid in Ottawa. This apartment, especially when I don't have my AC unit running, it heats up like a little tropical oven in here. And it's not uncommon for it to be upwards of 30 degrees Celsius with humidity. And I think it's a little bit better when I do have the air conditioning running, which is most of the time during the day in the summer. The inner walls are a little bit better than the outer walls in terms of temperature. And then, of course, because it's an older building, this time of year, it's a little bit warmer now, but this time of year in the winter, the outer wall is cold. You know, you put your hand on it and you can feel the temperature difference. You almost feel sort of a draft along the baseboards, just because the heat doesn't circulate quite as much. And I do worry about, you know, having so many books against an outer wall where they're going to be exposed to, you know, that chilliness in the winter, and perhaps some not so great conditions in the summer. But the downfall is that this wall gets hit by most of the sunlight of the day, which is why I have the best ones in the bedroom. And we'll see how things shake out. I'm thinking I might end up rearranging quite a bit of furniture when those new shelves arrive. And when I'm done, I will post to my Instagram, maybe my TikTok as well, some videos and pictures of the new layout, the new arrangement, and there's just some things that I feel like should be sitting with other parts of my collection, but I put things on the shelves as they've come to me, because I've got, you know, the journals of Dorothy Wordsworth right here, and I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. I initially shelved them with some biographies on the late poets, next to, you know, some volumes of Coleridge's and Wordsworth's poetry. But now I'm thinking they belong maybe more with the journals and the diaries. And so that's why they're kind of squeezed next to the Diary of Samuel Pepys. But then I almost feel as though they should perhaps be moved into the bedroom, and they could end up getting shelved closer to, you know, the letters of Madame de Sevigne, or some of the other travel memoirs and journals. Perhaps Dorothy belongs with Emily Shore or something along those lines. We'll see how things shake out, but I guess that's kind of an update on the state of my bookshelves. And I'll leave it at that for now. I just rambled way more than I intended to.